All right, here we go. I think that I turned this on. Let's see if I did it right. You guys know that I often don't do it right. So, oh, I see the thing come in here. Let me make sure I could hear myself. All right, I can. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. All right, guys. There are your little comments over there. All right, you guys tell me. Mike is on. My name's not Mike. All right, tell me if you guys can hear me okay. I actually did a pretty more extensive audio test with Nick last night, and I think that I got more of a handle on how this is working. So tell me if it's good. Mike is good. Is the mic good? How's it going? You guys tell me. Where are you? Tell me. Mic is on, and it's through both my ears. Yes. Okay. I worked that out. The next test now is going to see once we bring Nick in here, if if his voice is not doubled and tripled like Z Mars was. Okay. So let's. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to bring in my buddy Little? Oh, not before here. Someone's coming to say hi now. Come here, shithead. He's trouble. I call him Prince Joffrey. That's my nickname for him. Okay, he's gonna go up there and sleep on the bed. Good. He's fired from being the audio engineer since the last episode. All right, I think it's time to bring in little Nicky. You guys ready? I'm gonna do a little. Here, I'm gonna do a little phone call noise. Oh, he's not answering. What if he's pooping? Oh, wait. Hey!
Hey!
Wow. The crowd's going wild. Look who it is. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. What are you drinking there? Whiskey?
I have a cup. Yeah, it's coffee with Bailey's. I'm just kidding. It's just my coffee.
Oh, dude, you do that drip coffee thing?
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take you to do that?
Like 10 minutes. There's this guy. Yeah, but I'm like a weirdo about it. I like to make coffee in different weird ways. There's this guy that I always joke around with. I toured with him, and he was doing lights or something for Escape the Fate, like way back in 2014 when I was touring with New Year's Day. And he's very into coffee like I am, and we always joke that we're always looking for the most inconvenient way to make coffee. We're always buying these new little gadgets, and he's got all these crazy espresso machines that he'll bring on a tour bus, and it's crazy.
And he brings it on. Is he sober by any chance?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, he's not actually.
This is coffee is kind of a staple in the sober community, and
it is, right?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that are sober that get really obsessive over OCD over coffee. So of course I have. Oh, audio's perfect, by the way. That's great to hear. The next step will be for me to figure out how to raise the guest volume without raising my volume, but that's for next time. I can still hear you fine, Nick. So about the coffee, I got to say, my Emma's father came and stayed with us. He's from the greater New York area, but he retired and moved to Ecuador. And I'm super jealous over it. I think one day I want to retire and move someplace like that. I'm thinking Mexico. Actually, my buddy Stefan, who's in the Patreon, is we have a plan to retire together in Cancun or something. And actually, you could live cheap down there. But so he showed up and he was like, "I brought you beans. I roasted them myself. And what's your coffee situation?" And he was like, "Nope, you need this, you need that." And within the first week, he had me buying all this shit. So I have this really good grinder now.
Do you have a French press or do you do the pour over? What are you doing?
I do the machine. Actually, we have this really nice cappuccino maker that he got, an espresso maker that he gave us that I think is pretty expensive and nice looking.
Does
the only
steam
thing
the
that
milk
I think
too?
it doesn't do milk. So we have one of those Nespresso milk steamers because it does it really easy in a cup. But we have a fucking coffee machine. He said
Yeah,
it's
like a
actually not that.
Keurig or whatever.
Yeah, like a no. I think those things suck. I have like
Yeah,
a
I do too.
I have it's like a you put the shit in the top and it just makes the coffee and you have the coffee pot. But
Yeah.
he said it's a decent
Oh,
he said it's a decent one, but he also gave us this pour over thing and
yeah.
I heard it's great and I've had it before and I'm like, yeah. So I was like, this is how I want to make my coffee from now on. And he was like, well, Joe, this is how it goes. And he's weighing the coffee and doing,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is not me. This is just not me.
Well, so it doesn't have to be that complicated. So what I do is I have a little scooper that I bought on Amazon, and it's like whatever 2 tablespoons or something. And I just googled the ratios, so I know how high to fill my kettle,
Yeah.
and I know how many scoops of coffee that is. So for me, it's very simple. You can see the line like burnt into my electric kettle of where I always fill it to there, and then I just do 4 scoops of my thing, and I'm good to go. Put it in the grinder, grind it up, and it's perfect.
But then what? Then you have to sit there with it and like fucking like it's like foreplay.
Yeah.
It's like foreplay for making making the coffee should be the foreplay enough, and now you're foreplaying the foreplay of making the coffee.
Yeah, it's extended foreplay, and it's worth it though.
You don't always have
just
time.
like extended foreplay, foreplay to be worth it.
Sometimes you need it, but sometimes you need a quickie, Nick. A quickie
Sometimes
Nicky.
you do. You do. That was my nickname in college.
Quickie Nicky? Oh, you heard it here first, folks. I had to say it. Anyway, yo.
Hey, what's the deal with this shirt? What do you got going on here? You got some Japanese blossoms? Is that the Getty Center?
It's funny you should ask that. Actually, you know, I got to be honest with you. I haven't really looked at what exactly was on this shirt, but you.
Yeah, what is that?
You just said the Japanese blossoms, and what's funny is I see like a building,
like a
like a
it looks
kind
very
of
Greek or Roman.
So it's like
right?
But it could be like Washington D.C., which is also where all the cherry blossoms are famous for blooming, which I was at recently when I took Darian, and there's like these like old people, like not old, probably young people like from the 20s or something on a horse and carriage. So it's funny you should ask about my shirt, Nick. I do this thing every time I do a podcast. You know, I have a closet. People are probably like, "Oh, we heard the story a million times," but I got to tell you because you never obviously watched my other podcasts, Nick. No, I'm just kidding. So I do this thing every. Emma's always going through my closet and making piles of clothes and like saying, "You better throw these out or give them away," and I'm like, "No fucking way!" And she's like, "You never wore them," and so what I've decided to do is every time that I do one of these, I go in my closet and I pick something else out that I never actually wore before that's just in my closet, and I repurpose it for the podcast, and I debut it. And I actually last week I wore this like blue silly cowboy shirt, and I fell in love with myself while I was like doing the podcast.
Right?
And my eyes were just like blaring, and I'm gonna introduce that into my repertoire now. Anyway, so
I think you do, yeah.
I collect. I was collecting for a little while these 70s polyester shirts.
Yeah.
And they're
with the big collar.
Yeah.
With the big collar.
They're so nice, and they're worth it. Like, I think this one was probably like $150, you know?
What?
Yeah. You know what? You know where I got do you remember when we were touring in and we played in Pittsburgh? Hey, wait a minute. Didn't I get you a shirt too, Nick?
I have one that looks very similar to that came from you.
Do you happen to have it nearby?
I do.
What a coincidence.
I do. Should I put this on?
Well, first, before you do that, I just have to just add a little note here. Like, we were just kind of acting, actually. Like, I got to give us credit for that, because that felt super organic. We only rehearsed that.
Was very natural, wasn't it?
We only rehearsed that bit for an hour a day for a week, and we can probably look forward to the Academy Award for that. But why don't you put the shirt on too? Because we have a great story to tell everyone about these shirts.
Yeah. Let's put the shirt on, and then we can tell. Okay, so here's the shirt that Joe got me.
Yes.
There's a lot of lovely ladies all over this shirt.
Exactly.
This one's dancing in front of an ocean, maybe.
This is your lucky lady shirt, Nick.
It really is. We got a big flower, a lady and this flower down there. All right, so let's put this on.
So as you're
Okay, here we
while you're
go.
putting this on, I want to tell people about this shop. It's called
Yeah,
it's called 3 Rivers Vintage. Is that the name of it?
I don't know how you remember. I have
Oh,
no
well,
idea.
because they're my friends now. But like what happened was,
How could they not be after that night we all had
yeah, but
together?
that was not the first night that we hung out with them. So like, but so this is what happened. So we played like years ago. We played. It was a Comedy Christ tour. I don't think you were there the first time. And we played. We pulled up and we were playing in Pittsburgh, and the bus was stopped in front of a vintage store. And often, you're there for the whole day, and you're like, all right, you walk off the bus, and you're like, what's around? And I literally walked off the bus, looked right in front of me, and I was like, oh, a vintage store. And I went into this store. And until then, I had only had one of these kind of shirts and maybe two. And I went in there and the people were so nice. And uh, I was like, yeah, I collect these shirts. And they just started showing me shirts and they explained them to me and like how collectible they are and everything. And I bought a bunch of shirts from them and we became friends with them. And I invited the whole staff to the show that night. And then they were drinking with us on the bus after and we were partying with them. It was a great, great night. And then the next time that we played there, I'm sure maybe it was the next time or two and you were there. And I was like, Nick, you got to see this store. And I took you in there with me and you were like, tried this shirt on and you were like, I don't know. And I was like,
Yeah,
I don't even, I think I came back and I surprised you and I bought it for you. I was
you
like,
did. Yeah, because it was like, yeah, I can't remember why. I remember being like, yeah, that's a cool shirt, and but I was like, I don't know. And then you came back on the bus. I don't know what I can't remember. You like, it was a total surprise. It was great.
and then
It
that
was
was your
so
party shirt. And then every night when you start drinking, I was like, put on your party shirt.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. And I've used it actually. It's come in handy many times. I'm very grateful for this shirt because I've worn this. I've worn this out. I've worn this on stage. I wore this. This was my stage shirt when I was playing with the Pink Slips. This
Wow.
shirt has served me well.
That I'm honored that to hear that I got you the shirt. So and
Yeah.
now I want to talk about that night with those the people because
Oh
they
man.
get so stoked when we come to town and it's always like some other version of a shit show now and like party. And this night the owner's named Scott and then there's a girl that works there named Ray. And Ray had a Tinder date that she hadn't met and she was taking her Tinder date on to the Comedy Christ show. Okay, so I'm setting the scene for everyone. So what happened was I met up with them before and hi, how's it going? And they're like, yeah, Ray's got a Tinder date tonight. She's gonna bring him to the show. And I'm like, whoa, that's a wild like first Tinder date. Like you're gonna hang out with me and my crazy friends on their tour bus, get wasted, and watch this band break shit on stage all night, and then I'm gonna party with them. So sure enough, she brings this guy on the bus, and before the show, where everyone's having drinks, and I made him a drink, and he's getting loose, and I'm like, this is going pretty good, right? And then after the show, we meet back up with them, and we bring them on the bus, and I'm like, where's your Tinder date? And she's like, he's passed out in the shop with his pants down. And the shop was closed at this point. I guess they went back there to like have some drinks or something at some point. He got really, really fucked up and took his pants off and he fell asleep in the clothing, the rack of clothing. And I was like, what? And um, Scott told me that like this is like a Tinder date from a nightmare, but like everyone was in super good spirits about it. I just have to say, but I do want to tell the story. I actually can't post the photos I have of this in our chat because there's just asses and dicks in it. Um, you can't see the dude's face because he's in the clothes. So I'm gonna like after this, like soon, one day, maybe today or tomorrow, I'll edit the photos so they're censored and I'll post them so people can see. But
It's the photos are so good. We were exchanging ones that I had
yeah.
and that you had before this. We were like, oh my god.
So I asked Scott like what happened when he was like, yeah, he's passed out in the store. And I was like, well, what happened? He's like, so Scott's gay. He's the shop owner, and he said, at some point the guy who was on the date with Ray, who's a girl and is straight, and he said, he got really drunk, and then he started trying to get with me, and he started like trying to make out with him and everything, and then they figured out that he was gay, or he was. Maybe I don't know. Actually, I never talked to the guy, so I don't know what he was, but he was definitely became interested in Scott once he got drunk, but they were all cool about it. No one gave him any grief, and they were like, "Why don't you take a nap?" And then they checked on him, and his pants were down. So who knows what he was doing? But we did a photo shoot with him. I'll have to post the photos. And yeah, if you're ever in Pittsburgh, go see Three Rivers Vintage, and you could tell them like, where was the guy passed out naked? Yeah, and that's where we got the shirt from.
And get yourself a really cool shirt. And
get yourself a really cool shirt, and you could tag me.
The legend of the Combi Christ Tinder date.
Yeah. Oh man, we had some wild times together, buddy.
Dude, yeah. Do you remember when we first went to Europe and you guys used to make me go to bed with a plastic bag around my wrist? Do you remember any of that?
Because you puked.
Every night. That first tour that I went out with you guys, it was a nightly thing.
Well,
you would always send me to bed.
So I used to do this thing. I feel kind of guilty about it now, but like, you know, it's like, look, we all did stupid shit when we were, especially when we were fucked up, right? So you came into the band. You were like, you're smaller. You're a smaller human, Nick. You're a little smaller. Yeah. You're a little smaller than a lot of people. A lot smaller than me. You know?
Yeah.
Here, let me. You know what? Yeah. I'll just like fly in a little photo for scale for people right now, just to see.
I know which one this is. Oh.
Yeah. You thought it was going to be the one with our dicks out, didn't you?
No, I thought it was going to be the twins one that you made. You remember when you did the Photoshop?
I did. Yeah. That is a good one. That actually, that would have been a good one to show. But this is us. So
this is great because it's real.
This is obviously me on the right, and that's Nick on the left. This is us in Italy. So this must have been. Was this on that tour that you're talking about? Your first European tour with us?
Yes, because that's when you had the Lemmy thing going on.
Yeah. So this is
it. So, that's how I know.
So here was Nick on tour with us, and like, you know, it's normal to like kind of haze people, but like I feel like we didn't really ever haze Nick. Nick was just like so much fun to have around, but it was like fun to like for me it was fun to get him so drunk that he puked every night. It was like you had a light, you couldn't drink too much before you puked. So I was always like, let's go have another one. It didn't
take long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take long or much.
And actually, I want to go back to the beginnings of like how we met, but before I do that, I do want to bring up like and we could talk more about that at the ends of, you know, it was my last tour, and you were on my last tour in Combi Christ. You were there.
Yeah, it was mine too.
That was yours too. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's right. So I don't know if you remember this, but on the very first day, it was us and Filter and Lord of the Lost. And on the very first day, we had our own bus, and then Lord of the Lost and Filter were sharing a bus. And our first show was in Hamburg. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened?
Kind of.
Do you remember what happened after the show right before we left?
This is when we went to the sex shop, right? Didn't we go to that weird fucking place? We walked around, and I remember going to the, what is it called? The Reaper Bond?
Yeah, were you there with the dick boot?
I have a picture, yes, and I have a picture of me, like, pissing on the side of the road.
No. Okay, yes. I just confused an Aesthetic Perfection tour with this tour. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yes, we went
to remember that? We went to the Reaper Bond after, and it was Umi was with us.
Yes.
And he was like, mate, I gotta pay, and, you know.
We did see the dick boot because I took people back there on the Aesthetic Perfection tour to see the dick boot. But yes.
That's right. Yeah.
So after the show, we played at this venue that was like right in the middle of the Reaper Bond and Party Central, right? And then after the show, the bus was parked outside the venue, and we were all gathering, but there's so many people outside, and there's all these clubs and parties and shit happening, and there was like a karaoke bar across the street, and we like ran in there, and like I think we were fucking around and kind of doing karaoke, but kind of not with the people, and then we went back on the bus, and it was the first night, and the first night on the tour is always when everyone gets the most shit-faced.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, we're back, we're doing it again, and then a week later you're like, this sucks again, you know. But the first night, and you were, of course, were in your normal form, and no, we only had like it was like bus call was in 20 minutes,
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this, but they lost mine and Brent's luggage on the way there. I had no clothes for
I
the
don't
first five
remember.
or
I
six
didn't
days.
remember that. How long was that for?
Oh yeah, 5 or 6 days. I
Yeah.
literally all I had was I think a pair of shorts that you gave me or something, or like a shirt that you gave me, and I lived in the show clothes for the first like 5 days. It was
Wow.
horrendous,
You smelled nice
horrendous.
though. So, so, the, so what happened when we were getting on the bus to leave? It was like, there was only a few minutes left, and we were all got on the bus. We like ran around, got really wasted for like, the night at the club, and then to the karaoke place. Get on the bus, and the bus is like kind of starting to leave and like go through the people. And now I'm like, all right, Nick's here, and let's get him drunk, and let's get him to puke. And this is what happened was you were
Oh
drinking
yeah.
you were drinking
Oh.
this like fruit smoothie with vodka in it or something, and you chugged it. We were like, chug chug chug, and you chugged it, and then you were sitting there, and all of a sudden you just went and you barfed it into the cup. You barfed the whole thing back into
Yeah.
the cup, and everyone was going like this. Oh, and I don't know what possessed me to do this. I didn't even think. I grabbed it from you and I drank it.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
You didn't sip it.
It was like
You
going
downed it.
down my, yeah, I was like, and I just did it. And
And there was a couple people on the bus that subsequently threw up
yeah,
after that.
it was
It was
it was like that scene in Stand By Me where the one guy puked and everyone puked. And I think Jan threw up, our tour manager, and then Brent threw up on Jan's luggage.
on the suitcase. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's
Yeah. So
right.
that was the first day of the last tour that I ever drank on. That was no,
Hmm.
so that wasn't your this was not
Yeah.
your last this wasn't your last
No, no,
Comedy
no, no.
tour.
This was 2016.
Yeah,
Our
this was the
last one was
last one I
2018.
drank on. Right. Okay.
But yes, it was the last one you drank on because this was when we went to Latvia. And I have you. What was your drum tech's name on that tour? Alex.
Alex.
I have this photo of Alex. We stayed up all night that night. Like I don't think anyone went to bed. And there's a photo of Alex in the early morning sun in a bathtub with his legs and his feet just up in the air, or his legs and his hands just up in the air, in a bathtub at like 7 in the morning. Just
I, I
shit faced.
I remember that. This show was so weird. It was like, do you remember? It was like there was not really a lot of people at the show. Every tour has like one or two shows where like something happened and like they're like, what happened to the promoter? Like, did they promote? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And there's like five people there. And this was one of those shows, and it was like the club probably could fit like, I don't know, 500 or 600 people, but there was like 25 people there. And you start the show, and it's always those shows that you're like, this is going to be the worst show ever. They wind up being the best.
No, dude. And do you remember how weird that place was? It was like the venue was attached to a hotel that
Yes.
we stayed in
Yeah, but and
because then we had a day off.
the hotel was owned by like some kind of like Middle Eastern czar guy or something, and it was all this. It was
Yeah,
all themed out. It was like a fantasy land of like fucking sex
but,
rooms.
but and it was really poorly done though, and so it was so bizarre.
It was very
I,
bizarre, and
I remember trying to get something to eat in the restaurant, and it was like I have a picture of the menu because it was so weird, dude. I have to like read you some of like the dishes.
you know what I just remembered? Didn't someone get
What?
in a fight that night?
Yes,
Who?
because okay,
I remember
we
going
played.
into the bar and like trying, like being like something's bad's gonna happen.
Well, I don't remember who it was, but I remember some dudes. There was like dudes in the bar that were pissed at our group. It was like Elliot or Brent or somebody that
Hmm.
was like talking to some guy's girlfriend, and then like 3 or 4 of these dudes came up and they were like, "You're not welcome here," but it was very
Yeah,
something like this.
it got gnarly.
I
I
can't remember
remember.
the details are fuzzy because of the puking, but um, there's there's a good like here's the picture of Alex.
Oh my God. Yes, I remember this. Yeah, we were all losing our mind. I think he was like, I don't even remember this.
Yeah, yeah. And then like, where's? Oh man, maybe I don't have the menu anymore. But I just remember there was like the menu was like the big stinky Mexican or something like this. Like, and it was like a burrito. Like
Yes.
that was like you know what I mean. But like everything was like really weirdly themed. You know.
Yeah, you can't name an item like that on a menu in America now anymore because then
No,
your restaurant's going out of business now. So,
yes, exactly
but
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting to see actually. Like, I don't like talking about that stuff, but like I will say it's interesting to see that like a lot of that stuff and cancel culture and stuff like this doesn't really transcend into lots of other parts of the world. This seems to be like a U.S. thing, you know. And
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
not
know. I mean,
wrong.
yeah, here and there, there's like, you know, well, all that's important is like you try to hold yourself accountable for stupid shit you've done, and we don't need to talk about any more of that. Like, really, what I would like to do is go back to you know, I want to tell the story of how I met you, Nick, and then I would like to hear from you, you know, your point of view on everything, because
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember when we got told we were going on tour with New Year's Day, and that was who you were playing with at the time, and
Hmm.
I remember we looked at pictures of you guys, and I remember everyone was like, "Oh, this is gonna be bad," whatever, you know. But it was like sometimes your record labels are like, you know, pairing you with people for whatever reasons, and you guys were very popular, and we didn't really know you guys were doing Warped Tour and stuff like that. So you know, we were like, "Fuck it," like, you know, they'll bring a younger crowd, it'll be neat, and like let's see how it goes. But like we walked in there with like, you know, the first day you guys showed up, and we were just like, oh, they're gonna, you know, this, it's, you know how it is, you're just like, oh, these guys are gonna be like whatever, and like
Yeah.
within the first hour of meeting you guys, it was like, it wound up being one of my favorite tours I ever did, actually. And
Really?
yeah, and
Yeah. It was.
all of you were just so much fun. And like right up that first show was, I think we were in North Carolina or something, and it was like, um, everyone was just partying like before the
Yeah.
show even happened, and we were just like, we really had a great time. And I wound up loving each and every one of you so much, and and especially you. So what was that, the first tour you ever did ever, or you've done touring before
I
that?
I had done one 2 week tour before that was New Year's Day, but it was all like B markets, and it was only the West Coast. So like my very first tour with them was like Fresno, California, Eugene, Oregon. You know what I mean? Like Spokane, Washington. It was not Portland, Seattle, Sacramento. Like it was nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my very first real 30-day you're on a tour. Like, you know what I mean? In a
Right.
van for like the real deal. And yeah, that was the very first one. And
Let me
yeah,
let me ask you this: how old were you at the time? Like
I was
12,
20.
20, 23?
I was 23. Yeah.
That's about when I started touring as well. So how was it? I mean, how old were you when you decided you wanted to do this?
Like 10.
Okay. So all the fantasy in your head built up into your first tour being that tour. What
Yeah.
was it like versus your expectations, and like how did you feel? Like were you like it didn't matter that it was like what it was, or were you like, I pictured this something different, or like tell us.
It was everything I had dreamed of and more. It was fucking amazing. It was
Cool.
so good. I remember just being like, I'm free. Like every day was the best day ever. It's still like that when I go on the road. It's like, look, you know that like some days are just hard. Some days are harder than others. Like you're traveling a lot, maybe you don't get to eat a lot, or like whatever. Um, but that worst day touring for me is still better than the best day like here. You know what I mean? Like if I'm just at home. I don't know why. I love it so much. So all plus you gotta think like what made me want to play music was watching the Wild Side music video from Motley Crue, and like watching Nikki Sixx do a somersault off the drum riser, and seeing Tommy Lee do the flips and thing, and they're playing in an arena. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was what made me want to do it. And I mean,
That's
I don't know if
interesting.
you remember that venue.
Which
What?
venue?
The venue in North Carolina, but I remember it was literally like plywood backstage.
Yeah.
Like they built it like 2 weeks before. There was no insulation. It was just
Cubicles.
literally like yeah, it was just this cubicle of plywood. Like
Yeah.
and so anyway, I say that because far cry from the arena situation that was like, this is what I want to do with my life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I had played a bunch of shows, around Phoenix when I was like in high school and stuff. But going out and being like, I'm in North Carolina, playing a show, and after this we have to get in a van and drive to wherever, next, and this is going to be literally the next month. Was like, oh my god, this is awesome, just every day little adventure.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. And too, like when I said earlier that then a week later you're like, oh, this sucks again. Like, I say that in a joking way because you're right. Like, there's a lot of things. Look, we're allowed to say that like it sucks to tour because like we love to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's people that are just not cut out for this, and they think their whole life they want to do it, and they go and they're just like freak out after. I mean, I'm sure you've also experienced this with people where they get opportunities and they have meltdowns and.
Yeah, it's crazy to as somebody that loves it, like you sit there and watch somebody. Like I remember being on the road and literally that happening. Like somebody lasted like a week and then they were like, I can't do this. I have to go home, and just being like, I don't understand, but okay, yeah. But I've definitely seen people that this is all I want to do, and then they get out there and realize what it is,
Yeah.
and
it's really like a traveling circus,
Yeah, I mean, Combi Christ was something very special, but every band that I've toured with is like that. There's always a night, you know what I mean, or there's something. Oh man,
Well,
like with every band.
yeah, I like to say that actually, and I pay attention to this with all the different bands that I'm play with and I'm associated with on like all different levels. Think about it this way. It's really interesting if you think about it. Like every band starts out like small, right? And most bands anyway. And they start out small and they like grow themselves and they get habits and like certain ways they do things. And eventually if they become massive, a lot of the ways that they did things kind of still are the way they are. And
Yeah,
and I like to say every band, no matter how big or small it is its own little different version of a shit show or version of a shit show. Because even the most massive bands, I do have to say though, like Rammstein, even though they have their like, like the people in the band have their quirks and like in a great way, like that the way they run things is just like that. This is the way that I thought everything should be run. It's just so fucking over the top professional, but like most bands, even how big they are, they're just like you would think it's not run the way it is, but it's still a shit show,
yeah, behind the scenes, there's still those personalities that might clash under certain circumstances, or that, like you said, just those weird quirks that
or they do things like really weird, like really like that. You're like, wait, they do what? And you're like, yeah, they like need it to be like this, and that's just how they do it. And you're like, what? Like it's So I hear I won't name names of bands, but I mean all the we're friends with a lot of people. I've heard so many stories of so many different bands that like if you tell people, they're just like, what? Like you're kidding me? That's like what happens, But yeah, it's weird shit. But so then. Take us back to the tour, and it was us. It was Combi Christ, William Control, you, and was there another band on there, or was it just like locals?
No, it was just us three. I think it was like some local bands in some markets, but it was just us three on the package.
Okay, so now I want to know, like, what did you guys think before you came on the tour with us?
So this was hearing from both sides. It was the same way that it was for you as it was for New Year's Day, being like Combi Christ. It was like, who are these guys? What is this like? Like everybody knows, everybody in New Year's Day was like, oh yeah, like I like Nine Inch Nails or industrial music or whatever. But you know what I mean? But it was like, didn't know who Combi Christ was. And I remember Danny, Seth, finding this video on YouTube of like all these like cyber goth people dancing under an overpass, like a freeway overpass.
That's a really famous
to a Combi Christ song.
Yeah, that's a really famous viral video. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I remember him sending that in the group chat and being like, "You guys realize this is what we're going on tour with? Like coming from the Warped Tour sort of pop punk or whatever, like active rock market. They're like, do you guys understand this is what we're going out on the road with? Like all of us were. It was a joke. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
was such the joke of um like the Blade movie. You know what I mean? When
Hmm.
everybody's like dancing and doing the thing, and you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it was like that, and we're just like, what are we gonna expect? But then William Control was like um he was like the bridge, like he bridged the gap,
Yeah.
right? Because he had done the whole Warp Tour thing with Aiden,
Hmm.
and so he was sort of like the you know like he had been there, done that kind of thing, and that's
Right.
what
And he
Ash
started
and New Year's
actually
Day were involved in.
and he started making more electronic music. So then
Right.
I never thought about that. That was a really good bridge for that. Yeah.
Yes, because he kind of had one foot in each world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he had the ties to that Warped Tour thing, where we came from, but then he had started doing all this electronic stuff, and it made a lot of sense for him to be on that tour.
Right.
So I remember him being like the bridge sonically between us two, and being like, okay, well, Combi Christ has all these people, these cyber goth people with neon green dreadlocks dancing under an overpass, and it's like a Blade movie. And then we've got William Control, who's the old school Warped Tour guy, who's now, making Bauhaus kind of music. And we're like, okay, well, I guess let's see how this goes. You know what I mean? And we did the same thing that you guys had done, and went and looked up a bunch of videos, and we're like, holy shit. Nikki obviously being like, I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I remember getting like to the venue, and like kind of like watching you guys set up and seeing everybody kind of for the first time. It's a little fuzzy, but I just remember us being like this is so interesting to watch. You know what I mean? Because we had no idea about Combi Christ.
Yeah.
And so it was like, this is crazy. These people are setting up this crazy drum set. And then I remember watching you that night and just my jaw being on the floor. Like I had not really watched any live videos other than like these clips that, we had looked up on YouTube and stuff like that, and like music videos or whatever. And then you watched the show and was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And being like, after the show, let's get a drink, let's hang out. And I feel like after that first night, it felt like we had all known each other for 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the way it felt to me anyway. And look, it was like 5 or 6 days later or something, you and me are standing there with our fucking dicks out and just like, and backstage somewhere. And like, it was,
That was in Arizona.
It was.
I remember. Actually, hold. Give me 1 second here. I gotta I see the doors open and I gotta shut it.
Okay. I love.
Hold
Are
on.
you back?
I don't hear you. Okay. Talk.
Are you back now?
Yeah. I
All
focus
right,
on things and I gotta, I'm a little crazy.
I love that you're doing the long sleeve shirt with the shorts.
Oh yeah.
There's no way I'm wearing pants right now either. But here's my little outfit.
Are you gonna show your ding dong?
I can't back up enough, but I'm also doing the long sleeve shirt with my snakeskin shorts here.
We should do the rest of the podcast like this.
We should, right? Just like this.
Yeah.
Just here's some thigh for you.
Are you plugged in?
I'm back in now.
So I remember like obviously eventually you joined Combi Christ. I always did this thing where I would like hone in on a certain person, and if I toured with them or and I just like would be like obsessed with figuring out how to get them in the band, and it was always like this big game of chess, and you wound up obviously joining Combi Christ eventually, but like what happened on that tour? Do you remember? It's so interesting and cute and like organic how it started happening. I tried to find videos of this and I couldn't find any. So if you have any videos of this, send them to me, and I'll post another blog about it. Like after, you don't have to do it right now because I want to just talk about it.
I know what you're talking about, and this was like one of the best things that had ever happened to me. And I got to say real quick, this was my first real tour with New Year's Day, as we talked about. Now, I was the black sheep of that band. You know what I mean? I was the new guy, and I was literally replacing the drummer that I was replacing was the guy that like wrote a bunch of the songs with
Uh-huh.
the bass player. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he was a really big part of the band.
Right.
And so, and was best friends with the bass player. And the bass player had decided not to quit and had decided to stick around. So now he doesn't have his best friend, and it's me where his best friend used to be. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't necessarily like getting hazed, but I was definitely the new guy, big time. And you know, the way that I was going about this was, this is my first opportunity to do the thing that I've always wanted to do. So I was very like nervous about everything I said and did. I was very in my head about it. Like, don't be annoying. Don't, just like, don't blow it. Like that was kind of like where my head was, like, don't blow it. And so any little thing they said or did, I was under a microscope in my head. And I remember feeling very alienated at the very beginning of that tour. And you guys sort of took me in.
Yeah.
And I remember it being this situation where like, oh, Nick's hanging out with Combi Christ after the show. And like, we're all, well, let's go over there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember you guys being like, come on in. Like, it was like the most welcoming thing.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because that you guys doing that, I think played a pretty big role in me then, not feeling like the new guy in New Year's Day.
You know something, I actually forgot about this, but it would be interesting to talk about. I think people would appreciate hearing about this. So I remember now that you were alienated, and it wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary, that you were the new guy and like the old people were kind of like, we don't know about this guy yet, and like, they were obviously you were playing
it
with
wasn't
them.
anything like malicious. You know what I mean? It was just the new guy.
But I do remember some attitude getting thrown at you every now and again, and I was like, it bothered me because I loved you so much, and you're such. That's the one thing about you, that you're just like such a pure, kind, perfect soul to me. Like, you're in my soul family. We're soulmates. Like, I have several soulmates. I think we all do, and different kinds of soulmates, and like, you're definitely like in my soul family, and so when I noticed that like you were getting a little shit here and there, and like and I remember we were in Chicago, and I remember you were stressed out, and I called the other guys from the band into the dressing room, and I said, Nick, I want to hang out with everyone without you today before the show, and I want to talk to them. And I remember we broed down a little, we were making drinks, and I remember I asked Nikki and Anthony, I said, what's up with Nick? Like, you guys kind of give him a hard time a little bit. Like, where are you at with him? Like, and they were like, and this is, I remember what they were bothered about. They were like, there's this one drum fill in this one song, and every night he fucks up the drum fill, and then we get so mad at him. And I'm like, okay, what do you do when he fucks up the drum fill? And they're like, well, I throw my pick at him and I flip him off and blah, 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 blah. And I remember this talk, and I go, guys, how do you think that he feels every night when he's about to do that drum fill? How do you think he feels? Because he probably feels like, oh shit, what if I fuck it up again? And then you're going to fuck it up again. And I said to them, I said, this might be a little graphic, but this is what I said. I'm just being honest here, okay? I said to Nikki and Anthony, and I was like, what if you guys were hanging out with a girl, and you had a little bone daddy, let's call it a bone daddy. Everyone knows what the bone daddy is. Let's say you had a little bone daddy, and you're hanging out with the girl, and you get a little nervous, and the bone daddy goes away. Oh no, so what do you want the girl to do? Do you want the girl to stand up and throw fucking beer at you and be like, what the fuck's wrong with your dick? No. You want the girl to be like, it's okay, I'm going to help you get your bone daddy back, build the confidence, and then you can go on with the task at hand confidently, So I said, think about that, because that's what you're doing to him. And they said, fuck. And they were like, it was like someone turned the fucking, the sun on for them. And I was like, tonight, let's get him back in here. Let's be nice to Nick. And tonight when he does the show, He's probably going to fuck that fill up because he's going to expect you guys are going to be mad. But don't get mad. And the next night, what happened, Nick?
Dude,
You
we nailed it.
You nailed the drum fill, and
Yep.
and they were just like, and it was like something happened. I like felt really cool about that because I felt like I taught them this big lesson, and like it helped you get welcomed more into the band and feel a part of it, and like it changed the whole vibe for everyone. It was awesome.
And dude, it really was the turning point of everything. And after that, I was like part of their family after that.
Yes.
But it was all because you sat there and had that conversation with them. And I don't know if you remember this, but after you had done that with them, you came over to me and you were like, let's break this fill down. What's going on? And you helped me find a different way to play the fill that was still like a cool fill, and it would fill up that spot, but it like wasn't the thing that I was struggling to do.
Yes.
So from then on, it was, so you had, again, with the chest, you know what I mean? You had like separated me from them, had that conversation, and you went over to me and you're like, yo, let's figure this fill out and let's get you something that you're gonna feel confident doing every night. And now the whole vibe changes and is positive. It was really cool. And I remember thinking to myself as all of this happened, like, why is he this nice? Like, I just remember being so like grateful but confused because I'm like, why does this guy give a shit about me and yes, because I remember being so stoked and grateful, but I just remember being really confused, like, why is this guy taking time out of his day to go talk to my band members and make sure that I'm feeling welcome, and then coming over to me and working on a drum fill with me so that I have this thing that I can do that I feel good about. Like, I just couldn't believe that you would do that. I was like, why is this guy so nice? I didn't understand it. Like, you cared, but you had no skin in the game.
Well, I wanted to fuck you.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. Look.
That's what it was. It was like, I couldn't believe that you wanted to fuck me. I couldn't believe that you wanted to. I was like, there was nothing for you to get out of that.
There was though. There was Nick. I just get a lot out of helping people and doing nice things for people. You know. It
was very clear because again, you had no reason to do any of that. There was you could have sat back and just been like, and laughed at me getting fucked with for the rest of the tour.
Yeah.
And it probably would have been funny.
You know, what I mean? I got picked on a lot when I was a kid, and I was just telling my son this story yesterday. It's funny. We were visiting my family, and I always take him on a ride on my BMX bike on the pegs around my old school and stuff, like my old stomping grounds. Every time I say that, he's like, "Dad, that's so cheesy." And I tell him how I used to get my ass kicked when I was a kid, you know, and then he was like, "Well, like, did you ever fight them back?" And honestly, not much, because there was always a lot of them, and I just wanted to get away and be safe. Because if you fight one of them back, then you're fighting like 50, you know. So But when I got older. Like when I was in the higher grades and I was like a little more kind of like, all right, I kind of like eventually won the respect out of the bullies, and they like kind of left me alone, and some of them kind of like started warming up to me, but I was always like, oh, fuck you, you're an asshole to me all this time. But then I started, I did take on a different role where I would see people get fucked with, and I would physically stand up for the people. And that just became ingrained in me because no one ever did that for me as a kid, you know? So even if I don't like someone, I just think like it's so fucked up to make fun of people and tease them, you know, for whatever reason. And we all know that a lot of the times, most of the time, the reason why people do that is because they feel bad about themselves, and they project that onto people, you know? But, you know, to make fun of someone because of their skin color, their weight, anything, just so fucking damaging and awful, especially as a child, you know. And so that's something that I just kind of like turned into a positive when I was a kid, and I kept it with me. So the reason why I'm saying this is because you said, you know, I could have just sat back, and like the truth is I was gonna say, well, I like you, and I saw something good in you, but at the same time, even if I didn't, I still would have stuck up for you because it would have pained me to see someone going through that, you know.
Yeah.
But
Now, to put a little bit of a lighter spin on this, there's something that I did before the first show. I don't know if I ever told you this story,
okay,
but we were driving to North Carolina from
hold
Los
on.
Angeles.
Is this the first show on that tour?
Yep.
Okay, go.
On that tour. So my first, 3 days, we're driving across the country, and I say this because mind you, I'm the new guy still. None of us had met Joe yet. Like, none of this had happened yet. We're driving across the country from LA to North Carolina to start this tour, and we're somewhere 2 days into this trip, and they didn't trust me with driving yet, so I was just sitting in the back bench for 3 days with nothing to do really. So we stop at a gas station, and Nikki is like, "Let's get road beers." So everybody gets a beer that's not driving. This is so stupid. I like some of this shit that we would do. So I get in the back, and I remember watching A Clockwork Orange on somebody's iPad, and I'm just sitting in the back, just hanging out, having this beer, driving down the highway, and I immediately had to pee. Like after this, like we had been on the road for maybe 40 minutes, and I'm like, shit, I have to pee again, and I'm the new guy, so there's no way I'm saying anything. I'm not asking to stop, right?
So just to like really drive this in, you're this uncomfortable in the band that you're afraid to pee. Okay, keep going.
I'm not gonna stop to ask to pee, like, because again, I remember, like I was saying, I was in my own head so much about don't cause any friction, no matter what. Like, you don't need anything from anybody. You're like, that's how this was gonna go.
Right.
So in my head, and so I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to pee in the beer bottle. So I do, and everything went fine. But now we're 45 minutes into the trip, and I've got this beer bottle with no cap on it, full of pee. Like, I filled up this 40-ounce bottle.
Did you drink it?
Like, no. So
You should change that story one day and say you drank it.
I figured, well, hold on, it gets better.
Okay.
So I'm like, what am I going to do with this 40-ounce bottle of piss that I now have in the back of the van? So I open the back window, and I'm thinking, I'm going to discreetly pour this piss out the back window.
Okay, no one knew you could pee even. You did it secret.
No!
Oh,
no one even knew that I peed.
Oh,
everyone thinks I'm back there just watching A Clockwork Orange. And the whole time I'm plotting, how the hell am I going to get rid of all this pee? Because I'm going to fall asleep at some point. We're not stopping for another 3 hours, and I don't want this to roll over and like spill everywhere. So instead of me just toughing it out and holding this, until we stop again, I'm like, I'm going to pour it out the back window. I didn't think that the air, like when you open the window like that, the air comes into the vehicle. So I open the back window, and I just go like this, and all of that piss just sprays to the inside of the van. And I golden showered everyone on all the rows up to the front seat. Like, I remember Anthony driving and being like, what the fuck was that? Turning around. And everybody was asking, is that piss? Is this piss? And I'm like, no, it's warm beer. I let it get hot, and I didn't want it to spill. And everyone knew I was lying, and everyone knew I had just poured piss all over and the van.
Now I understand why they were mean to you. I'm just kidding. Oh my God! Did you ever own up to it?
Yeah, like 5 years later, after I was like had been in Comic Crest and everything. I mean, and every time I would see one of them, it was always, that was piss stop lying. Though you was pee in the bottle, it wasn't more beer. I'm like, no, it was more beer. Until literally like maybe a couple of years ago, I'm like, you're right, it was piss, and everybody knew it. It's the funniest fucking thing,
Dude.
Everybody knew it.
One day you got to go to see a New Year's Day show, as you do, and you go like, and you need to wear a shirt that just says, "Okay, it was piss." I know they know now,
Okay.
but like, you just need to. I'm gonna make the shirt for you.
Okay, dude. I remember thinking to myself, don't blow it. You know what I mean? This entire time. And before I start the first real tour, before we even play the first show of the first real tour, I'm like, I'm fucking fired. There's no way these people are going to keep me in the band. I was fully expecting to make it to North Carolina and them to give me the plane ticket and be like, you're out of here, dude. We'll figure something else out. Like, I could not believe that I in my head, I had just squandered everything I'd been working for. Everything that I quit my job and moved out of my parents' house and moved to LA to go pursue this dream. And I was like, it's all over because I couldn't hold on to the bottle of piss.
Oh my God.
Dude,
I can't believe you never told me that story. Oh my God.
That was my first, dude. And then by the grace of God, for whatever reason, we tour with you, and you happen to be probably one of the very few guys in this industry that would notice somebody like me in an opening band getting alienated and be like, I'm going to help this guy out. Well, and again, they had every reason to be giving me a lot of shit. I'm the new guy, and I golden showered all of them before we even got to the first show, and then tried to lie about it.
I feel like that, like, I do also feel, though, that, like, I understand how traumatic that could be for you in, like, the very beginning of, like, being in a situation like this and being so new to actually professional level touring and stuff like this. But now, like, if that happened, in the 3TEETH bus right now, like, you'd be like, oh, I did it again. And, like, no one would be mad. If everyone would be like, yeah, you pissed on us.
And I wouldn't be nearly in my head about it like I was then. But when you understand the context of, oh my God, this is my first tour, don't blow it. And then you just spray piss all over everybody. You're like, oh my God, I'm the biggest idiot in the world. Like, you just want to, like, I just wanted to jump out the back window. I'm like, I'm going to end it right here.
Yes. Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Sure.
Well,
that was how my touring career started.
Another thing that we did on this tour, was that I remember that wound up kind of being like you auditioning for the band like years before you joined the band was.
Yeah.
Do you remember this is what I was like saying before that I couldn't find the footage of. So if you have any, I would love to like make another post and show it to people, because you would watch the show from the side of the stage, and by the time we played Fuck That Shit, I would probably be drunk enough to where, like, one night it just happened that I saw you there, and I was like, come here, sit on my drums, like, during the show. And then I stood on my bass drum, and you didn't have a click track, so I had my ears in with the click, and I was like clapping at you, and I was like, do the bass drum, and I'm like, now add the snare drum, and you played the song with me as like.
Dude, I remember this night very vividly. It was Minneapolis, and I remember you guys went backstage before the encore, and you saw me, and you're like, hey, do you have your in-ears? And I was like, yeah. I was wearing them for, like, as earplugs. And
this was the first time? I thought the first time you didn't have in-ears at all.
You know what? That might be, maybe that's it. Maybe that was, I feel like I remember you being like, take this back. I'll explain everything. And it was like, it wasn't that you gave me yours, I don't think. I think it was.
Maybe
it was like an extra pack or something like that.
Okay, maybe you did have yours, but maybe I was still clapping and doing the stuff for you.
You were definitely still clapping because I was like, I don't know what to hit. You're like, I'll tell you what to hit. Just make sure you hit it with the click. And then you stood on, dude, I will never forget that. Like that night, you're like, you're going to play the song. I'm like, no. You're like, yeah.
And then we did it like every night eventually. We just started doing it.
Yeah, it became a thing.
And then
that was another thing that you did.
What's that?
It was like, that was another thing that you did that sort of kind of gave me some credibility. You know, it was like you were involving me on the stage, and then the rest of the thing was like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
Do you, I think one of the first times, though, on that tour was that we did that was I didn't play the drums like that. The first time I didn't have a click, but I remember being in Boston at the Paradise Rock Club. This stuff is so vivid still. And I was on the balcony watching your set, and it was right before like Fuck That Shit or something. And you looked up, you're like, hey, come down here. And you gave me one of your toms, and you sat it down, remember? And you were like,
Oh
sit
yeah.
here on the drum riser. And then you would like pour water all over me, and like Andy would start. I can't even remember what he would do, but he would like mess with me a little bit, and I would hit the tom. Like that's kind of how it started.
That's right.
Is I would just sit there and hit the tom, and you would be like throwing sticks over my head and like throwing the drums over my head, and you're like, whatever you do, don't move, just sit here. And then it turned into you're just gonna play the song.
Yeah.
That one night.
And little did you know that I by that point was like, one day that I'm gonna make this guy in my band, and I was like I was trying you out every night.
I had no idea, but I just remember feeling so cool after you were like, you're gonna play this song. It's like walking around like, yeah, like look at me.
So,
oh my god,
dude, I love you so much. You're so
I
good.
love you too. There's so many good memories and stories.
I feel like we could go on forever about the Combi Christ stuff, but there's so much other shit I want to talk about. So like, I want to, I want to, you know, everyone wants to know about 3TEETH. 3TEETH is the band you're in now. But before we get to 3TEETH, you know, you've also moonlighted in some other bands. You've been playing with some other people, but like, there's something that a lot of people don't know about you that I would like to share with people, because you have a really fucking interesting job that, you know, you're actually like, I know you're not really supposed to talk about it, but you know, you are a stunt man for many very famous, you know, actors. And I just wanted to showcase some of your roles here, and have you maybe explain a little bit about some of them, because you know, people are gonna like, these are all movies people have probably seen, and they're gonna be like, holy fuck, that was Nick. So like, you know, here you are in Spider-Man. So, you know, you were actually what was the thing that you did in Spider-Man that was like really crazy, that the actor was like, I'm too rich to do this, so like, we got to hire someone that looks just like me. What were you doing in Spider-Man, Nick?
Well, first of all, it's very rare to find somebody. That was the Tobey Maguire one, right?
No, that's not Tobey. I don't know who it is, but it's not Tobey.
Who is that?
You should know. You were a stunt double.
I was in several of the Spider-Man movies. You know, they've redone them a lot, and I keep getting a call, which is really nice. No one else, they can't. It's very hard to find somebody my size. So when they have to do all these crazy things where they hook you up to the harness and fly you around in front of the green screen, you know, they need a very small-bodied, light person.
Right.
And so, so oftentimes these wealthy actors, they don't want to get strapped up in the harness. But as you were explaining about that hotel in Latvia with all the crazy sex rooms and all of this stuff, I have a lot of experience, you know, swinging around in harnesses. So the craziest thing that I would do is, you know, we'd be in these studios, and I'm 50 feet in the air in front of some green screen, all strapped up, and they're like, this guy's really good at this. Like, he can get in all these different weird positions and hold himself there, and, you know, the classic Spider-Man pose. Like, they're like, we normally have to train these people so much to get all these poses down, and I just, you know, having the experiences that I've had, it was very natural for me.
So and also natural for you to play stunt doubles for smaller people because of your size. And here you are with, you know, my son's favorite show, the guy from Stranger Things.
Yeah. That was a really fun project to be involved with.
This was actually the episode where he was dating an older girl, but it was legally they couldn't have the kissing scene of him kissing the older girl, so they had to do a stunt double of someone that was actually over 18 kissing the 22-year-old girl, I think she was. And did you use tongue in the kiss, Nick?
I had to sign an NDA. I can't confirm nor deny.
All right, I don't want to put you.
Yeah. But you know, if you look close, I think you can.
Yeah, that looks like that looks like a tongue smile to me. And then here you
are.
Put
it this way: it was passionate.
And here you are with Arya from Game of Thrones, because you were actually the person. Every time that she was in the knife fight, you told me The sword fight,
Yeah.
because you're an expert sword fighter, as I also learned on tour.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, but my parents had me in fencing classes from a very, very young age, and from about the time I was 4. Yeah, I was fencing a lot as a child. Um,
And
so I
and
have a lot of experience with stuff like this, and so it's living in LA, a lot of these life experiences have lent themselves to some work such as this,
yes, that's awesome.
such as this.
I love
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones, and then here you are. You're actually in the new Matrix movie that's not out yet, which is awesome.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
That's something I've been very excited about, and um, yeah, dude, me and the Reeves, dude.
dude.
You know, that's my guy.
Is he really as nice as everyone says he is?
You know what? He's kind of an asshole.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Like the other day on the set, somebody had brought muffins and he was screaming because he doesn't want the blueberries and he picked out all the blueberries out of the blueberry muffin one by one and he threw them individually at the person that got the muffins.
Did he say did he
There
do
was like
syllables with each?
17 blueberries.
Did he do syllables with each row? That like it was like I said
Yes.
no fucking blueberries.
Fucking blueberry. It was
Oh
that,
my.
and it was humiliating. Like I said, like 17 blueberries. I mean, this was like 3 or 4 minutes of just humiliation as he's hurling these blueberries at this poor PA, this production assistant.
Oh my God, that must have been
Uh,
mortifying to be a
yeah,
witness to.
yeah. Everybody thinks that guy's so great. I don't understand where those stories come from, personally.
Well, look, obviously this is a little hard here to 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 talk about for you because it's like a lot of secrets and shit like this. So I'm not going to put you on the spot about that job anymore. I'd like to talk about like everyone wants to know your new band, man. Tell everyone.
Yeah. Dude, I am. There's things that kind of like happen in your life, and you're like, I can't fucking believe this is happening, and this is one of those things. Like coming from that very first New Year's Day tour, and then just looking at, and then going and getting to do the Comedy Cry stuff, and then this is like, it's like, gee, like I'm very grateful that I get to be part of such a really, really cool project, and that band rips. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. It like the guys are so cool, man, and it was really natural, just kind of like coming into that situation and just diving into the tour, and it was really cool coming into that and having that the touring experience that I had before, and like, man, the shows are just so fun. The dudes are so cool, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say, but it's just really fucking cool, man. It's really fun. Um,
Tell us what it was like to get the call. Like where were you and what
oh, all
happened?
right. So it's a fun story. So I was at Disneyland when I got this call. Now, I had kind of had my eye on wanting to be in that band for a while, like before. Like I was made aware of them when I was on the road with Combi Christ, and I was like, wow, this shit is really cool. And I saw that they would have a live drummer. I'm like, damn, like that's something I would like to do one day. And I remember like covering a song. I think I did President X and like posting it just to kind of be like, I'm a fan of this band. This is really cool. January 2020, I'm at Disneyland waiting in line to ride the new Star Wars ride. And I open Instagram and Lex is in my DMs and is like, hey, our drummer broke his foot and we leave for Europe in 10 days. Do you want to take this? And I'm like, yep. Like, no questions asked. And I remember it was a Sunday, and the next day I called my work and I quit all my jobs. And Lex was like, okay, I literally think it was a headlining tour, so I think our set was like an hour every night. So he goes, here's 16 songs to learn, and I had 10 days to learn 16 songs and then get on a plane. But it wasn't even like I had 10 days to learn those songs. It was 10 days until we left.
Yeah.
So it was like, you've got 7 days to learn all the songs because then we're going to go rehearse for 3 days and then we're going to fly to Europe. So it was
Intense.
one of the like, dude, just like very intense, but like also one of those things that was like, hey, let's see what you're made of. You know,
Yeah.
like you got 16 songs, 10 days. How are you going to do this? And it was just, I mean, probably like 8 or 9 hours a day just playing. I remember like I made a little, like a system for myself. I was like, okay, if I do X amount of songs per day, I have to do X amount of songs per day in order to have all this stuff ready in time. So I remember it being like, I think like 4 songs per day. I had to chart out. I had to learn, and my level for myself was you have to be able to play it by the second or third day with no chart. Like I wanted to have it memorized by the second or third day. And we pulled it off, man. I couldn't believe it. But I remember thinking to myself as I did this, like, how, you know what I mean? It was one of those things like, how bad do you want to do this, man? Because you got 16 songs to learn and you can't drop the ball. Like, this is, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember like making my own, I remember like I would go to the studio for like 8 or 9 hours and just play these songs over and over and over again. And then I would go home and I would make all my own click tracks and I would make notes for myself throughout the song. And I had then Xavier load that in. Like it would be like, okay, here comes the bridge. 3, 2, 1, stop playing. You know what I mean? Like I had to make all this stuff, like notes for myself.
Do you still have that in your click tracks with them?
No, not anymore. Well, I mean, it depends on if Xavier still has those files because I made all of those on the computer that got stolen.
But
so I don't have those.
You don't use them though. You know, Gingerfish. He's playing in Rob Zombie now. He was in Nansen for a while, and he forever. I mean, but he showed me his click tracks that he uses, and he does that. He talks to himself in it, and I was like,
same thing.
This is genius. He's like, yeah. It's like, he'll be like, all right, get ready. The tom part's coming up. 1, 2, 3, and he hears it in his ears. I'm like, fuck, I want it. You know, it's a lot of work.
Dude, that was exactly what I did, especially with like the intros of the songs. You know, because like 3TEETH has a lot of really cool backing tracks and things that are going on. Like, you know, you might have like voices whispering and, you know, an electronic drum beat going on and swells and ambient noise. And sometimes the click, you know, I'm sure, like sometimes the click gets a little bit lost, you know what I mean? Unless you're blasting it out, or just sometimes there's certain parts of songs that get lost. So, yeah, I made a lot of stuff for myself with like, it come in 3, 2, 1 now. And, you know, it was, dude, it was a lot of work, but it was really cool when I remember getting to the first show and it went off really well. And I was like, you know, like, okay, everything I did worked. Thank God, you know, and it was like a testament to like, hey, maybe I kind of know what I'm doing here, maybe. But funny story about that very first show. So I'm in England. I'm amped, right? But I'm definitely super nervous because this is the very first show with this new band. And I'm coming off of, like I said, like 9 hours a day in the studio. And I remember calling my then girlfriend, and it was maybe an hour and a half before we go on stage. And I FaceTime her and she's bawling. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm just calling to tell you how excited I am to play this show and, like, you know, show you around the venue, and she's crying. I'm like, what is going on? And she tells me that my car had been stolen the night before. So an hour before my very first show with 3TEETH, I'm in England, mind you. So it's not even like I'm playing in the US. Like, I'm jet lagged. It's my first show with these people. I had literally gotten this call maybe 10 or 12 days beforehand. And now I'm on the other side of the ocean, getting ready to play the show, and I'm told your car got stolen.
Holy fuck, man! You know, look, I'm just gonna put this out there for any significant others watching this that have someone that goes on tour or performs or something like this. You know, if you have some bad news like this, you should wait until the show's over to share it. Okay, like she held on to it for that long, like for overnight. She could have waited. She could have been like, "Hey, I can't wait to talk to you, but let's talk after your show," and then laid it on you after. Because I mean, how fucked was it for you to focus on the show?
Well, I mean, there had to be a lot of like, okay, there's nothing I can do here, and I'm going to have to compartmentalize this and put it away You know what I mean? Like I can't. There's no. I don't have room in my brain to think about the fact that my car just got stolen.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that I, am coming in on time and that I nail the switch from the verse to the chorus in that one song that I'm a little bit nervous about, and that, you know what I mean? And that I
Yeah.
remember the kick pattern in that other song. Like, dude, it was so weird, man, because I had to like disassociate
Yeah.
completely from the fact that that whole conversation had just happened, you know?
Yeah.
And mind you, I had had the car for like a year. This was like I had just bought this car. Like I had never had a car payment in my life, and like I'm like I don't even know. I had never had a car stolen ever. Like I'm like I don't even know what to do, and I'm in England.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to call the insurance company, and there's all this time difference, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Nightmare.
so obviously when you hear that, all of this stuff starts going through your head, and you just have to be like I have to table that right now. And the trick is how to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's the trick. But
That's an important thing for, I think, people to hear is like, doing what we do professionally, like, before, when we're getting ready for the hour before the show and then decompressing for maybe an hour or half hour after the show, like we need this time to ourselves to like get in this kind of zone where we are disassociating with everything except for the music and the show that's about to happen. So, if you're ever hanging out backstage with some friends that are about to go on stage and then their tour manager comes in and it's like, all right, everyone out, like don't take offense to it. Like that means that we're going to turn into the other people that we got to be for the hour and a half that we're on stage. And then often, I will say this too, because, I can't tell you how many times like I see things online. It was like, oh, I met Joe and right after the show, and he was an asshole. And I'm like, well, was it right after the show? Because like, if I'm walking off stage and you're approaching me for something, I still have not gotten out of that mind space and I'm unapproachable at that moment. I can't even like form a sentence. So likely I will be like, no, and walk away because I'm like half brain dead at that moment. You know what I mean? And people a lot of times.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like you said, you become a different person. You put this other personality in place. You know what I mean? It's like I'm gonna be performer Nick, or I'm gonna be, for you, Nancy, I suppose, or performer Joe, and like everything else ceases to exist.
Yeah.
But you don't just snap out of that once the show's over. It's like once that last note hits, it's not like, oh, turn it off. It takes a minute to, like you were talking about, go backstage, sit down, put all your stuff away.
Yeah.
Because how many times have we left shit at venues or something like that? If you come back right after you get off stage and there's a bunch of people in the room because somebody's friends and family are there, and you're like, dude, I need to make sure that my in-ears get in my backpack and like my laptop's over there. Like I need to make sure all this shit gets cleaned up.
Yep.
And you're buzzing from the adrenaline, and it's hard to focus on these things. You know what I mean? Oh,
yeah.
geez. Okay, sorry, I swiped on accident.
That's all right.
It went away. But yeah, it's because you need that time. It's a slow come down into, Joe again, or being Nick again.
Yeah, because it's like for me, I really go in this zone where I push everything out of my brain except for this stuff. So it's like I can't just walk off stage and be like, time to go to office work mode. You know what I mean? You got to like slowly let the stuff back in.
And I don't know about you, and maybe this is some weird ADHD thing for me, but focusing on anything is very difficult for me.
Yeah,
drums is probably the easiest thing to focus on because I have to do so many different things at once that it requires a lot of focus.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's still very easy for me to, even if I'm on stage sometimes, if I'm not actively keeping those other things out of my brain, they will work their way in. You know what I mean? Like, there's been times where I've been on stage and find myself playing a song and thinking about something completely different, and it's like, whoa, and you don't even realize how you got there.
Yeah.
You just all of a sudden you're like, why am I thinking about when my car payment's due? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or you're worrying about like shit, just whatever stuff.
The thing about that though, that's interesting that you said that, is like, I learned a bit about ADHD over the past couple of years. I also have ADHD. I've had it my whole life. And it's funny, I learned that drumming is actually one of the biggest, best exercises for people with ADHD, because when you're using both sides of your body in unison,
Yeah.
you're activating both parts of your brain to work together better so that you could focus on things. And often what happens is, yeah, you push things out, you go into a zone, but then while you're in that zone, it becomes super meditative. So I often also will find myself thinking about things, and my body's on autopilot, and I just kind of look at my hands. I'm like, how the fuck am I doing this? What if I just forget how to do this? I don't know how this is happening. And I'll be like, what am I going to eat for dinner?
Only when you start thinking those things do you actually mess up.
Exactly.
Because like you said, it's very meditative. So if you just stay out of your own way, it'll keep going. And to your point, I noticed that the focus gets harder the longer I've been in the band or played the songs.
Yeah.
Because the autopilot becomes easier, obviously, the more you do it.
Yes.
So like by the end of New Year's Day at Comedy Christ, when everything was, I had played these songs thousands of times, it was that I had to be very careful. Whereas with 3TEETH, especially on that tour that we had done, it was honestly a little easier to disassociate from the car being stolen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this was so new.
Right.
And
yeah.
and I had, you know what I mean? So it was like it wasn't as meditative, and I had to be very present. But
right.
Yes, to your point, I notice it gets harder the longer you've been in there, because the meditation and autopilot gets stronger and stronger and stronger. You know?
Right. Yes.
It's interesting stuff. But man, I'll tell you, those dudes are the best. Like one of the things I love most about being in that project is everybody is like wants to operate and does operate at 100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no like, we've been doing this for a few years. People are going to show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, it is not that at all, ever, with anything. And it's really cool and refreshing to be involved in a group that's like constantly like, yeah, but like, how are we going to take this further?
Yes.
How can we make this even cooler? How can we make this better?
Yes.
You know, it keeps you hungry, and it's inspiring to be around people that are always pushing like that. You know?
Yes, and we've had a lot of talks about that, about like surrounding yourself with these kind of people. And I also am super thankful that I'm also now in a band that operates in the same way. And I this is how my brain operates, and I do not operate well in bands with people that are not like this. And
same with me. Yeah. I'm very susceptible to my surroundings and my environment. Like my environment, and I should probably work on this, but my environment plays a massive role in the way that I act. So the people I'm around and the environment I'm in, I tend to very much adopt whatever that is. So if the people are like, whatever, and we're just here to rage and get fucked up and, you know, whatever, it's like, well, I mean, if it's not my band, you know, like with Comedy Chris, it's like, it's not my band, you know, I'm just using that as an example, but it's like, okay, I mean, like, I'll just go up there and do my thing then, you know, because a lot of times when you are trying in those situations, it gets very frustrating.
Yeah. That's the thing for me. Especially once I got sober, I couldn't, I wasn't in the party mode like that anymore. And I just wanted to, you know, do cooler things and figure out how to progress and take things to the next level. And once you're doing that and everyone else isn't doing that, and I didn't know how to stop doing that. So, you know, I don't know. And then eventually everyone just really didn't want to be around me. And I was like thinking, but I'm doing good stuff. I have good ideas, and I'm not trying to like ruin people's good time, you know, but eventually things just don't work out anymore, and you just got to move on, you know? But,
yeah. So, I mean, so that being said, it's like, I'm super stoked to be involved in such a cool project, you know? Speaking of which, there is we have there's a music video and a song coming out on Friday.
Yes, actually, soon enough, I'm going to get to some Patreon people questions, because I do that at the end. But before that, I'm going to talk about something else. But one of the questions, actually, since you just brought it up, sexual harassment panda. Hi. She was asking about this. So like she wants to know about the collab between you guys in horror, and to if you could tell us anything about it, because you guys teased the video. You did a music video. Did you do a track as well?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a brand new song. So there's going to be a new song, and which is a collab with Horror, and then he's also, as you can see from the little teaser, in the music video as well. And that was a really cool thing because we were all, we all got to shoot this music video together, and it turned out really cool. I'm
That's
super
great.
stoked for everybody to see it.
Isn't Horror two guys? Really?
Yes, and I'm not sure why only one of them did a verse for us, because it's basically just, he's got a verse, and
Okay.
but it was just one, for whatever reason. I don't know.
Rad. I can't wait to see the
It's
video.
still sick. Dude, it's really cool. And I'll say too, like, speaking to being in this project with people that are just always pushing to do bigger and better things. This video was only supposed to be like a photo shoot, and it was just going to be like, hey, let's just, label was like, let's do a shoot, and have some cool photos to put out with this. And Lex is like, dude, no way, we're going to do a video, and on a very tight shoestring budget, made a super rad video. And that's the type of attitude I'm talking about, where it's like, yeah, you could have just had a photo shoot and everybody would have been happy. You know what I mean? But he pushed and was like, no, dude, I've got a cool idea, and I call in this friend and that friend, and, with only a few people, we're going to make this happen. And then the guy sits up and works on the edit with everybody for like 50 hours straight. You know what I mean? Just to get it done. Like, it's super cool. That's just an example. That's one example of something recently where it's like, that's the kind of energy I really love being around, and why I'm grateful to be in this project.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the energy that takes you to new heights, obviously. So
exactly. That makes me want to go and do bigger, better things, and like build some crazy cool drum kit to go on the road with, and you know what I mean? And yeah, it just makes you want to be better.
For sure. And you also are doing something kind of new that we've been talking about for the past few weeks that I also think is going to make you be better, like it did for me. Which, as you know, this is my the way I run these Let's Talk Shit podcasts is this is private for my Patreon members, and then afterwards I make it public for anyone. But the Patreon members are the ones that get to participate and talk. And I have made notes, I say, and Michael, to talk about your questions that you left there. But I'm gonna talk about that after I talk about this. Nick has finally decided that he will make a Patreon, and something that I've been telling him that I think he would be really good at for quite a while now. And I've been helping him as Daniel and a couple of other peers helped me develop mine. It's my honor to pass that down, because when before you do the Patreon and you launch it, it's such an unnerving process for me. I was like thinking about doing it for a couple of years, and I never pulled the trigger on it. And then finally, when all this stuff happened, the pandemic, I said, I need to pull the trigger on this now, because I'm going to go crazy if I'm not like in touch with my fans and having something to do. Right. So I know how it feels to be not launching it yet and not knowing if people are going to want to do it or whatever. And so I have come up with an idea to inspire people to sign up for your Patreon. And I know that I know that it's like going to take another day or two before it's like super live and stuff. So first of all, here, let me, I have gotten a little sneak peek at the Patreon. So like Nick loves to cook, and he loves drums. So his Patreon is all going to be different things and we'll talk about it in a minute. Okay. But your Patreon is going to be all different things of like drumming and personal life and cooking, which is awesome. So I've decided that what I would like to do to invite my the members of the Let's Party community, which is that's what my Patreon community is called. I would like to offer an incentive to them that if they sign up at any level, that I'm gonna do something special for them. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna make a separate post about this in the Patreon when it's ready. And if you guys sign up for Nick's Patreon, it doesn't matter what level, the smallest level, up to there. How many levels are there altogether? There's 9. There's gonna be
there's gonna be 9. There's 6 available right now.
Okay.
And then in the coming days we're gonna release the other 3.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. The first 6 are the first 6. The first 6, if you sign up, I'm gonna make a special cameo video for you guys, and I'll send it to you guys, and it's gonna be of me dressed up like Nick somehow, probably with a Snapchat filter with some girl with blonde hair. But you guys will get a special. I'm Nick. Thanks for signing up for my Patreon. But it's really don't be alarmed when I tell you that it's really gonna be me. Okay, and then that's for the first 6 levels. If you sign up for the 3 levels, and Nick, I'm going to ask you to do a little summary of what all the levels are real quick, and then we'll jump to the questions. But if you sign up for the top 3 levels, I will draw a drum head. I'll draw me and Nick as cartoon characters together on a drum head, and I'll sign it for you, and I'll send it to you in the mail if you sign up for the top 3 levels.
Please, somebody do this because I want to see this really bad.
This is going to be only for people in the Patreon. That I want you guys. Like Nick is. I consider him to be a good extension of me and my vibe. So I'm like excited for you guys to hopefully also find a way to support him in any way. And I want to celebrate that and like do something to help bridge the communities together. So that's what I'm offering. So I'll make a separate post when it's ready and you're public, and then I will go over what you get and we can keep track of it. So why don't you tell people real quick what kind of stuff you're going to offer in your Patreon?
Okay, so like you said, I was very nervous about doing this because when you do it, you're like, if somebody's going to give me money and pay for this, I want to give good value. You know what I mean? So one of the big things is you look at all the stuff that you're doing, you're like, you just want to make it worth it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited because I feel like I thought about this a lot and I came up with stuff that I think is super cool, and I think it's going to be really fun.
I also think it is. I think you did a great job.
Yeah, dude. All right. So yeah, dude, I'm really, really excited. So what we're going to do, so we've got a blog that I'm going to do where I'm going to write that weekly, and we're just going to I'm going to share everything that's going on. So fingers crossed things actually start to come back and stay back. I've got a lot of really cool things kind of on the horizon. This last month has been, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes, and I'm really, really, really excited about everything that's coming up. So there's a lot to share with everybody. So we're going to do a weekly blog. And then after that, we've got, oh man, what else do we got? There's going to be a monthly live stream where we cook, which this is the one I think I might be most excited about, but it's really cool. And like, if any of you follow me on Instagram, you know that I cook almost every weekend, and I like to go to the store and get all the ingredients and, pick some cool recipe. And I thought, well, it'd be really cool to do this with other people. So what we're going to do is have a poll, and if you're signed up at a certain level, you can submit recipes. So I don't know, maybe you got grandma's clam chowder, you know what I mean? And you're like, I want you to make my family's recipe. Like we're going to do stuff like that. We're going to have a poll where everybody that's involved votes, and when we make it, it'll be on a live stream. So we're going to be hanging out like as if we were in the kitchen together, having a drink and like cooking this stuff. Dude,
that's such a great idea. I didn't know you were gonna like get recipe suggestions, because like this is great. You have your Patreon members can be like, oh, this is like some famous family recipe thing, and then you can like be like, I'm gonna make it, and like
I'm gonna take my stab at your family specialty.
That's awesome.
Because I want everybody to be involved. Like, I want this to be like a thing we're doing together. You know what I mean? So instead of me just picking a recipe, like, like I want it to be like, hey, cook this, and I think it would also be really cool, like if you did it with me, So like what we can do is you can either just hang out in the live stream and talk shit and hang out, or follow along. Like I'll post the recipe, and anybody else who wants to also join in can make it. We can all make it at the same time and take pictures and post it together and hashtag it and kind of share like, well, here's my version of
This is
grandma
awesome.
spaghetti. Like so. I'm really stoked. So that's one tier. We got there's gonna be another tier where I'm gonna have a private Instagram for everybody that signed up for that tier. And what we're gonna do is, as you've seen on from this hang, Joe and I have lots of photos and videos in our phones from the years and years of touring. And so what I want to do is share some of those, because there's, some things that I wouldn't put on my regular public Instagram, some photos and stories. So what I want to do with that is we're going to have an Instagram where I'm going to post a photo from tour, but it's going to be something that is not something I would post on my regular page, as we try to keep it a little bit close and tell a very detailed story about it. And if you guys know anything about me, or from even just watching this, I can kind of go on and on and on. So the stories will be very detailed. And that's going to be really fun. I'm going to go live on that thing, when I'm feeling like it. Today, I'm gonna test drive something like that. Actually, when we get done with this, I have a session I'm going to record drums for. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit of live streaming when I do that. So anybody that wants to watch, how a drum session goes while I'm recording drums can do that. I'm gonna do that just on my public one. But moving forward, as we build this community up, that stuff is gonna be reserved for the Patreon members.
That's great.
Yeah, we're gonna have another tier where we. I bought a little Instax, like the Fujifilm, instant film camera, and I'm going to be taking that around for all of these, adventures and stuff that I do. So, I'm going to bring it to the studio today, and I'll just be snapping some pictures and have some other people snap some pictures of me. But I'll be snapping stuff of just us working on songs, and now this isn't for 3TEETH, but it's it's a look into me as a drummer. This is sometimes what you get hired to do. You go and lay drums down on somebody else's songs. Anyway, with the other tier, I'm going to have some Polaroid pictures. And if you sign up for that tier, once a month, you'll get basically a customized postcard from me. I'm going to send you a picture of just something that was going on in my life in that month. And I'm going to write a handwritten note. It'll be almost like a pen pal thing, but if you're signed up for that, you're going to get one picture that's a physical picture, and I'll handwrite you a note about the story behind the picture and what was going on in the day, and
That's a great idea. I might steal that. Daniel does that too. When he's on tour, he's always like taking pictures of stuff, and he mails them to Patreon people. And I think it's genius.
Yeah, I thought of it like a customized postcard type thing. It's like, I'm making a postcard just for you. No one else is going to have this picture except for you. It's a physical, one of a kind thing. And you're going to get a handwritten note with it. It's not going to be like just on the back of the picture. I'll take it. Again, I can talk and talk and talk. So,
that's
like
great.
A page.
So tell us about, and what are you going to do, like, as far as like drumming goes? Cause it's good. Your theme is like drums and cooking, basically,
yep.
Right?
So there's another tier where I'm going to do a drum cover monthly. And just like with the recipes, we're going to have a poll where people can vote. So I'll come up with 3 songs at the beginning of each month, and we'll put it out for a poll and let it run for, I don't know, a couple of weeks. And whatever song has the most votes, I'm going to record a cover we're going to record a drum cover of me doing that in my studio. So people can submit song ideas, but I'm also going to be submitting some song ideas too, because, it's one thing to, learn a rock song, and it's another thing to learn, a Rush song while I've got everything else going on.
Right.
But I'm gonna throw in some cool ideas and songs that I'm listening to at the time. That's normally how we come up with this stuff. It's just, you're driving around listening to some new music. You're like, oh, that's a really cool beat. I want to learn that. So I'm gonna throw a poll in there for that. As far as the drumming goes, people can vote on that, and we're gonna do everyone will get a private Instagram link, and that'll be for that. The 3 tiers, I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. They're not the last 3 tiers are not up yet. Those will be coming out in the next few days. But um, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I've been teaching for about 2 years now with my friend Bobby Amara, who plays in a band called Stabbing Westward now, but had also played in Orgy. Well, he opened up a drum school, and so I teach primarily kids for anywhere from 5 to 15 years old over there. Um, I had always been very insecure about offering lessons because I felt like drums is like any other craft. Like, you're kind of a lifelong student. You're always learning, and I didn't feel secure enough in my knowledge for a really long time. And it's, as a drummer, going on tour, you're like, well, what are some other ways that I can make some money? And everyone's like, well, just give drum lessons. It's like, yeah, but again, you want to have something good to offer. So after doing this for 2 years, I feel like I'm very confident in my teaching skills now. So I want to offer drum lessons to people. And those last 3 tiers are going to be, if you want to take drum lessons with me, we're going to offer it just in different time frames. And then you'll also get everything else with that, all the other tiers. But I wanted to open it up to people in Patreon, to anybody that wants to learn, anything. So we're going to be offering drum lessons for that. I can teach you songs. I can teach you just general exercises if you're really serious about learning the drums. If you just want to sit down at a kit and be like, I want to play my favorite Metallica song, I can help you do that. It'll kind of be curated to whatever you want.
You know what you should consider doing for those 3 top tiers. Those 3 top tiers, by the way, people, are the ones that I'm going to offer the drum heads that I'll draw me and Nick a cartoon of us doing something silly, and I'll sign it and I'll mail them to you. But you know what you should also offer in those? I'm sure there's a bunch of people that are going to sign up that might not want to learn drums, that would probably love to just have a FaceTime with you or something. And I do that in my Patreon. So you should consider, whatever it is, 30 minutes or an hour slot, whatever, that it either a drum lesson or a hang.
Dude, there we go. So, okay, you guys heard it here first. If there is, because like I said, what we're going to do is those top 3 tiers, the only difference between them is the time that we do it. So one is once a month, one is twice a month, and one is 4 times a month. So yeah, once a month, bi-weekly or weekly. And hey, if learning drums isn't your thing and you just want to hang, there you go. We're changing it too. That's an option now. If you want to do a one-on-one hang, Zoom, Skype, whatever, we can just hang out for the amount of time that we would do a drum lesson.
Yeah,
talk about whatever.
You can eat ramen together. You love ramen.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, maybe we go out on a little virtual ramen date.
Dude, virtual ramen dates.
Just to set the phone up, and yeah, there you go. We'll plan to go at a certain time.
I love that.
That's actually really good.
I do virtual dates with my girlfriend when I'm on tour. I'm like, all right, this is the day, and she has one of my credit cards, and I just say, like, I'm paying for dinner, and we dress up and
That's
we do
really
FaceTime.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I always get.
So yeah, there you go. So I'll go on virtual dates with you guys. That's what it'll be.
So
if you're not into learning drums, we'll do some virtual dating.
That's so good. Oh man, I'm so stoked for you to get this going, because for me it's been so rewarding, like in so many ways that I didn't even imagine, and it's something so special.
I'm very grateful and thankful for you, because you have been an absolute godsend in getting this whole thing put together. You know about all the insecurities and you've been there every step of the way for me to bounce ideas off of you. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? I had this idea, and you were monumental in me having the confidence to put this out there and feel like what I'm offering is definitely of value.
I think it's going to do really good. I'm stoked for you.
I'm really, really excited, and I'm very grateful that you were there to help me out with it, because I feel so good about it. Like, I'm so excited to start offering this stuff and building this community and having these hangs. Like, I'm super, super stoked. But I wouldn't have arrived here if it wasn't for you and me sitting on FaceTime and having these phone calls where I'm bouncing all these ideas off of you. So
it's absolutely my pleasure to always help you. So now, everyone can stay tuned for an announcement on that. And I would like to pivot, and we have some questions from some of my Patreon members. And
Hell yeah.
I usually start with Eugenio first, but he's got like, he always has like really good questions, and they're like, and a lot of them. So I'm wondering if I should.
Okay.
Oh, let's start with the silly ones first this time. Okay.
Okay. Well, hold on 1 second, because that coffee went through me. I gotta pee really quick.
You gotta do a little pee. Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna pee real quick.
Okay.
You realize we've been doing this for like 2 hours? So
almost.
I knew it was gonna be like
1 hour and 44 minutes.
I love it. All right, hold on. I'll be right back, and then we'll jump into the question.
Okay. Hey guys, here I am all alone. Here, let's try out all my noises. I have also, as well as the applause, a bicycle horn. Who knows what a glockenspiel is? Raise your hand if you know what a glockenspiel is. Oh, what? That's really funny. I thought a glockenspiel was something else. Here's the DJ air horn where I'm like, riff raff coming at ya. You guys know that one, right? Hi. I hear Nick's toilet flushing. Here's the party noise. Nick. Oh, that's a good one. And triangle. Those are all my noises. And now here's Nick. He's coming back. He's putting his little ears. You're not alone with us.
Okay.
Here, I know.
Do you guys? Do you have any of you guys ever drank so much coffee that when you pee, your pee smells like coffee? Has that ever happened to you?
I got to be honest with you. For me, like, you're a lot closer to your penis when you're peeing than I am. I'm like really a lot. I'm a lot further from it. So, and I've done a lot of cocaine in my life that my nose is not.
It's a little plugged up.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I always got to do the disclaimer. But yeah, I fucked my nose up. So,
oh man, well, it's always a little bit not alarming, but I'm always like, wow, dude, maybe you shouldn't be drinking so much coffee that your pee literally smells like a fresh pot of coffee.
next time I'm with you, I'm gonna smell your pee while you're peeing and see.
Yeah,
if it smells like
I'll make sure to drink another thing of this coffee, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Hey, Nick,
get right down there.
Real quick, what does because Stefan just said this. What does a glockenspiel sound like?
I think it's like ping. I feel like it's something like similar to a marimba.
You know what I thought it was? Do you know that thing? That like it has like a metal handle, kind of like a gun, and it has like a ball and then like a wood thing on top that has a thing, and you hit it and it goes like.
Yes.
What's that called?
No, I think I have no idea, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
This is a glockenspiel. And
there we go.
I thought that glockenspiel was that thing I just said. But it's not.
No, so I know that it's some sort of percussion thing. Like you take it and you like run a thing across it, or you like hit it. I always thought it was a triangle for the longest time.
Well, I have the triangle too, Nick.
You have the triangle too.
All right, so we're gonna start with the silly questions. Kid 2 wants to know: you're in 3TEETH, despite obviously having more than 3 teeth. How do you deal with knowing you're flagrantly false advertising? Like, I guess a good way to ask this question, I'm going to change it a little bit, is like, how old are the teeth jokes getting? So, like, does your dad go like, how many teeth do you have today, Nick? Like, that's what my dad would do.
You know, the best part about my family is my dad is always like, you're still doing that music thing? You're still playing those drums? Is that you still doing that? Like, he's so out of it. Just like, you know, are you saving for retirement? You know what I mean? Like, he's so not like aware of what is happening.
I know.
You know,
but the answer is definitely we're not saving for retirement.
Yeah, definitely not. Is that the best meme that I ever, like 3TEETH meme that I ever saw that wound up going around a lot with that dude from the Tiger King. Like that one, remember how
that was a good one.
You remember the guy and he had the 3 teeth? Yeah. That was a good one.
Which he has a lot more teeth now. They gave him
after
new teeth.
Post surgery. Yeah. But that was definitely the best one.
So I say, like, Kim asked what the craziest memory is with me, but I feel like we might have talked about those, but if you have another one, feel free.
I kind of do. I remember. I remember on that first tour, so definitely the drinking my puke was a pretty crazy one, and the having me play your drums on the very first tour that we were ever on, when your band had no idea you were going to even do that, was a pretty crazy one. But I remember being in France with you, and you guys used to like, if I went to bed, I don't know if you remember this, but if I went to bed on that first tour, you and Andy would literally grab me by my ankles out of my bunk and drag me back out into the lounge and make me continue to drink.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So there was one time, it's like 6 or 7 in the morning, you had stayed up all night, and I literally was like, I would have to like sneak away to bed. Like there were some nights I would literally create a diversion for you and Andy so that I would just sneak away. And there was one night, I remember we were in France and you drugged me out of my bed at 7 in the morning and you like took a bottle of vodka and put it in front of me and you were like, make bubbles in this. And I was like, what does that even mean? And you made me chug this vodka. And then we met KRS-One.
Yes. KRS-One.
And then we met KRS-One.
Yeah.
Like,
we were like hanging out outside the bus, and it was in the morning. It was light out and everything, and we were wasted. And KRS-One like I don't even remember how it happened, but he like
I don't either.
Passed by and maybe, or he was nearby, and
these guys like passed by, and I think they were like, "Yo, you guys on tour? Is that your bus or something like that?" And we're like, "Yeah," and they were like, "So are we," or something like that. Yeah. It was like, "Oh, you're American. Like, what? Who are you?" Like, "Oh, we're out with KRS." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and then
we brought them on the bus and hung out with them.
Yeah, and we were just hanging out with them, getting wasted. I remember that. The dude like wrote me a lot actually after that, and he was like,
"Really?"
I have to say, like, I've talked about it before. Like, I've definitely had like hangouts with people that like were. They were very genuine in the moment, but like I don't remember them or like and he was like always like, dude, like I guess like we bonded a little more than I remembered, and he like really tried to stay in touch with me to wanting to come visit with me and stay with me. I don't remember what I said to the guy, but I was just like, oh, I'll come to your show one day.
Yeah, that night I remember that day was, dude, that's hilarious. I got getting a text message like that from somebody else that was like, I think I posted this recently, but I got a random text message from somebody like a year or two ago that was like, "Hey man, this is Tyler. I don't know if you remember me, but I caught you when you stage dived at Brick by Brick in San Diego when you were on tour, and I bought you a beer afterwards and you gave me your phone number. I'm just texting you to say hi. This is my gamer tag if you ever want to play." I'm like, I have zero recollection of this whatsoever. Like, I just gave my phone number to some guy. Apparently, he caught me when I was stage diving. Like, I know what you mean.
I know. I used to give my phone number out a lot too, and
yeah. It was hilarious. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. No sleep, making me drink vodka at 7 in the morning.
All right. Now here's your last buffer question before we really get to the nitty gritty, and then that will be the end. I think there's a bit more to talk about in this other one, but first your buffer question. Isaias wanted to know 2 things. He had just asked in comments to hear. He would like to hear you talk about your experience with Pink Slips a little bit, and he was also curious.
I saw that right now.
He was also curious what your first concert you ever went to was, which as am I, because I've been talking about that a lot lately.
Okay. I'll address the Pink Slips here real quick. That was really cool. And it's crazy because I also play with, so if anyone doesn't know, the singer for the Pink Slips is the daughter of Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. And it's hilarious that I wound up playing with her because back in 2017, I answered, I'm friends with this guy named Jorma Vic on Facebook, and he is a drummer, plays with the Bronx and Eagles of Death Metal, and he had made this post that was like, "Hey, I got this drum gig if anybody is interested in it. This band needs a drummer." And Combi Chris had just finished a tour, and I was like, "Well, I got nothing going on. I'll bite." And it wound up being Gilby Clarke's daughter, who also played in Guns N' Roses. But I got these two things completely independent of each other, which was hilarious. Like, it just goes to show you what a weird, small world it is. Dude, getting to get that was so sick because I have a very soft spot in my heart for like indie rock, like Cage the Elephant and the White Stripes and Kings of Leon and bands like this that were really big in like 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11. When I was graduating high school, I had gone through a massive, if it wasn't Pantera or Slayer or Nirvana, it could kick rocks for all I cared. And after graduating high school, I got into some of this stuff, and the Pink Slips music was very similar to that, and it was so cool, man. I got to do a lot of really cool things with that band, and I only played a handful of shows with them. One of those things was we went to New York and played, and Joe came and saw us, and it was really cool to get to go to New York and play a show that wasn't with Commie Christ and have you come out and hang, and Jimmy Webb was there. Yeah. It was really, really amazing. It was really cool. Those people were the best. And so sweet and so cool and so accommodating. And we did a handful of shows opening for Killing Joke, which was like just ridiculously cool. And, you know, it's a legendary band, and we're playing in these clubs with them. Like, holy shit, dude. And it was similar to the way where I play with Frankie, who's Gilby's daughter, where it's like, you know, with 3TEETH and Combi Christ and New Year's Day, and you're wearing in-ear monitors and there are click tracks, and you got to make sure you're lined up through the whole thing. With these two bands, it's punk rock. Like, you go up there and you set up your drums and you just play the songs. And it's a really cool like contrast to the playing with the click and all of that stuff, because you really got to be locked in the moment. You're looking at everybody like, are we going to end the song here? And they were the best. We would rehearse. We would go to rehearsal, and, you know, either at her house or at this place called Mates, and it would just be like really nice rooms, and just again, man, just really, really cool people that again were really hungry. And then one of the coolest things that happened because of that gig was I did this festival called Louder Than Life with them in 2019, and Guns N' Roses was headlining that night. So one of the really cool things that happened was I got to stand side stage for Guns N' Roses. And watch about an hour of their set at this festival. And I don't know if any of you guys know, but it's kind of known that like people don't stand side stage for them. So it was literally the five of us on the side of the stage, and that was it. It was pretty cool, man. It was pretty awesome. And just one of the things that I always liked and what I thought was so cool is like when you get those moments of standing on the side of the stage, you get to see kind of how things work, and you see the guitar techs getting the next guitar ready, and you know what I mean? And it was really, really cool to see how that machine operated. Yeah. You know?
I'm actually going to see them on Thursday, and
wow.
Yeah, and so I have two first concerts that I tell people about. I just wrote about one the other day because Biz Markie passed away, and the very first concert I technically went to was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, which is Will Smith, and Biz Markie opened. So I went to that when I was a kid, and then the next concert I went to, which I consider also to be my first concert because it was the first concert that I had chosen to go to, was Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and it was at the same stadium that I live like 15 minutes from it now, and I'm going there to see them again on Thursday.
That's so crazy.
So with that being said, who was your first concert?
So my first concert, according to my parents,
I hope it was the Wiggles. Go.
It was Garth Brooks.
That's Achy Breaky Heart?
No, that's Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh.
It was Garth Brooks at the Arizona State Fair when I was like 3 or something like this. But the first concert that I remember going to that wasn't the live action Power Rangers play was, get ready for this, it was Puddle of Mud.
Oh.
And I won tickets. I remember going to a Guitar Center in Phoenix, and the local rock radio station was set up out front. And it was like, as I'm walking in with my friend, they're like, hey, if you sign up for our little, you know, whatever loyalty program or some whatever it was, you get entered to win these tickets. And so I was like, okay, I'll sign up. And then they were like, you know what, we're just gonna give you the tickets. And they gave me like
because no one else
2
signed up.
tickets. Yeah, I was like, we're just gonna give you the. After I signed up, they're like, here, you can just have them. And it was a puddle of mud tickets at this venue called the Marquee Theater, which for me that's like everybody has that venue in their hometown that's like, that's my venue. I need to play that venue.
Yes.
So that's that venue for me. I've seen a lot of my favorite bands play there over the years, but my first real concert of me and like a friend going to a show was Puddle of Mud, and it was my friend Clayton that I took, who's a lifelong friend of mine, and I'll tell you this one last funny part about that, and then we'll move on to the next one. But I was in my local band at the time, and I was in high school. I was 16 when this happened, and so I brought a CD of ours, and I remember working my way up to kind of the front row, and I hurled this CD on stage, and it had our songs, and then it had my phone number written on it. And I had just gotten my very first cell phone. This was a flip phone. I'm dating myself here, but it was the flip phone. And the first week that I had this phone, so I had devised this way for my band to make money, where we would play for the Phoenix Public Library once a week, and we would do this like concert series with them. But I worked it out to where they would pay us $200 every time. So
good hustle.
So I was like, that's what like kind of funded our band for a while. So I'm at the show. I throw this thing on stage. Now, a week earlier, I was playing one of these gigs for the Phoenix Public Library, and I had put the cell phone was in my pocket, and I remember playing drums and getting done with the gig. And one of the things I tend to do is I hit like when I hit the snare drum, it tends to hit my thigh, and I had broken the screen on this cell phone within like a week of having it. And I remember, and my parents wouldn't let me get text messages, which I couldn't anyway after I broke the screen. But my parents were like, 25 cents a text message? Absolutely not.
That.
So yeah, I could only call people. But anyway, I remember throwing the CD on stage and my friends knew this, that like you couldn't text me. Like a lot of people knew that you couldn't text me. And I remember getting text messages and not being able to open them or see them after that. And I remember being 16 and being like, is this the guy from Puddle of Mud? Oh my God, I threw my thing on stage. I never found out. I don't know.
Oh my God, I love that.
So anyway, that's my first concert story.
That's a good one. All right, and now we're gonna move on to Eugenio. Do you know who Eugenio is?
Yeah, of course, Cornholio, dude.
There he is.
Yeah, dude, look at us. Oh man.
He's like one of my favorite people in the universe. So he
fantastic.
always has the best questions, and here's some. I'm gonna Eugenio, you're gonna have to like bear with me here. I'm gonna edit a couple of these just because a couple of them are a little too provocative, and I try not to talk about certain things. So hello, first line. Hello, Nick. Period. I have a couple questions for you. Let's talk bed bugs. He got us the bed bug book. I don't know if you remember that, but he said, let's talk bed bugs. Yeah. I love the Instagram account and the stories you two created. Yeah, like for those who don't know, actually, yeah, I did. Nick and I were rooming together on this one tour. There we are. And
yes.
Yeah. It's funny. Nick is actually sitting right next to me on the bed, but that's how tiny he is.
And not a lot of people.
So we have. I'm like really obsessed with not getting bed bugs, so I tear apart every single hotel that I enter and figure out if they're clean or not. And Nick was assigned. I should say I was blessed with Nick as a roommate on this one tour where we were in a van and doing hotels every night instead of being on a bus. It was actually really fun. I felt like we had a lot of freedom. We had hotel rooms every day, but we did have to deal with my insanity of looking for these bed bugs every day. And we made an informative Instagram about it, and we documented a bit of it. So like, what was your experience like with that? Did you hate me for getting you crazy about bed bugs?
I was just gonna say that. So I remember before that tour, you were like, all right, you and me are rooming together. And I was like, yes. And you're like, but here's the catch. You're like, everybody always hates sharing hotel rooms with me because no matter what time we get back from the show, I make them tear apart the bed and look for bed bugs, and everybody always hates me for it. And I remember not feeling that way. I was like, this is gonna be awesome, like, and whew, there was a couple nights, man, because I was super curious about it, and there was a couple nights. I don't know if you remember, like, dude, we would have to be like back in the van at 7 a.m. and we wouldn't get back to the hotel until 3 a.m. And I always knew that when we tore a room apart, it was at least 1 hour. And that was like if we didn't find anything.
Yeah,
it would be about, yeah.
And we were
45
often
minutes.
finding things on this tour because we weren't staying in 5-star hotels. So it was like there was some.
So, yeah. So I was getting more ecstatic as we went through because it became more and more interesting. I was like, holy shit, we were going to stay in this room and there's fucking bed bugs in it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I had never checked this stuff before, and I had stayed in a lot shittier hotels on other tours than what we stayed in on that one.
What was really unsettling for me, and always is, if I'm staying in hotels like this, which I really try not to now, is the people that refuse to check and that you're traveling with because they're like, fuck it, I don't care, I don't want to know. And then, they probably are in contact with bed bugs and bringing them possibly into the touring vehicle. So this makes me feel really
especially when you find them in your room and you're like, well, you're staying in the same floor as me. Do you remember that? There was two really good things that happened on that tour with the bed bug stuff. Remember the one was the guy refused to give us a room or anything. And he tried to make this deal with you where he was like, I'm calling the exterminator, and if they don't find anything, you have to pay the bill.
It was in Kentucky.
And he was like, yes, it was. And he was like, you have to pay the bill if they don't find anything. And if they do find something, I'll just comp your room or something like that. But he's like, I'm not moving you. And you were like, what? And we got in such an argument with this guy, he kicked us out of the hotel.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to stay there. And actually, we still had the room where we found the bed bugs in it. And we I don't remember that we found bed bugs in there, but we found like traces of them. And I was like, usually that they're around. And I remember that night we were just like, we had nowhere else to go, and we just had to go and sleep in the room, and we like bundled ourselves up with like up to here, and we threw the clothes away and everything, and we slept in there.
We were on that coronavirus, masking yourself kick way before the coronavirus. We were fucking protecting ourselves from the bed bugs, dude. Yeah. And then the other one, I don't know if you remember this, but we found, I can't remember what city it was in, but we found bed bugs. And the person comes in, they're like, oh man, there's this women's bowling league that came through a couple weeks ago. And we've been having trouble ever since.
Yeah, I remember that one. That one, if you look in the
it's so gross.
If you look in the Instagram, there's a picture of a bed bug. There's actually a video of us finding and it's crawling around. I think we named it, and that was that hotel. I remember.
It was. And then there was the other one in Seattle where we went to 3 different rooms and they wound up moving us hotels because
that was gnarly.
Every room.
And everyone else stayed in that hotel. That was when you got contacted
by the news station. Yeah. Remember when the news station reached out to you?
And we made the Instagram and the Facebook, and some news station contacted us and they wanted to have us on their show and talk about bed bugs. They were like, we're trying to contact the bed bug boys. And I was like, Nick, I think that we have like an alternative career possibility here. We should really take this seriously. Yeah. So, all right.
Man. All right. What else
next question. Are you Italian? Because your last name is apparently Italian.
Hell yeah, I am. I'm Italian. I got a lot of family that lives on the East Coast, and they're very Italian. And I grew up doing Sunday dinners. You didn't go to your friends' houses. Grandma and Grandpa came over. Mom puts a gravy on at 9 a.m. and it would just sit there and cook all day. Yep.
There you go. You heard it here first. Yep. Probably not first, but Nick is Italian.
You heard it here.
Who are your drumming influences?
My very first one was Tommy Lee. Absolutely. Again, seeing that Wild Side music video. And then my drumming influences have changed a lot over the years, man. Like, different things would happen and I would get into different things and be interested in, I'd be very interested in like people that let's put it this way. I have a few people that when I discovered them, they've always stuck around. A couple of those people are Vinnie Paul from Pantera. I love the parts that he writes. He's a huge influence for me. Joey Jordison was always a big influence for me because again, the parts that he wrote and just the absolute insanity of like playing that fast and intricately and accurately and executing those songs day in and day out. as of more recently, like when I really started to study drums, I wound up getting a lot of other influences. And some of those are a guy named Steve Jordan, who's played with a bunch of different people. Yogi Horton, which is some of these guys, man, like were playing a lot in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and they have just some really, really incredible stories. A quick one about Yogi Horton is he is actually credited with making one of the very first drum DVDs. Well, not DVDs, it was a VHS tape when he did it, but one of the very first drum instructional things. And it was really cool. And it's literally just him being like, well, here's this thing that I played with this band. And he's just so good, man. He played for Luther Vandross for a long time.
Wow. I remember when we were in New Orleans, you were like going to that jazz place. That was like a big deal.
Yeah, well, in college, I remember I had to take some elective course for this music program I was in, and it was like you could take rock history or jazz history. And I was like, I don't know, probably a little bit egotistical, but I was like, I could probably teach the rock history class. I remember thinking to myself, so I was like, fuck that, I want to learn about this jazz thing. And totally got into jazz music and all this other stuff, you know. But yeah, so those were a lot of my drumming influences. Tommy Lee, Joey Jordison, Vinnie Paul, and then also guys like Yogi Horton and what was the other one? Oh, Steve Jordan, just for very different reasons.
Very cool. Eugenio would like to know something. Eugenio, as you know, is a very big Combi Christ fan, and he also was very curious to ask Zemar when I had him on last month about his decision to leave the band. If that's something that you feel comfortable talking about, then you can. If not, then you don't have to. We can move on to the next part.
Did Zemar say?
Zemar said a lot. Yeah, he was pretty outspoken. And it was funny because
I mean,
it was funny.
Ahead.
It was funny. Yeah, you could watch it. He was.
Okay, I need to just go watch it. Yeah. You know what? I'll say this. Like with a lot of relationships. A lot of times they will, and this isn't for every relationship. I mean, there's some that just never end. You know what I mean? But for a lot of, I feel like most relationships we have with people, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship or a working relationship, it serves you in a specific amount of time. And then a lot of times we grow apart, not necessarily out of, and because I feel like that might send a message of like denigrating one side, but it's just sometimes you just realize you want something else, or you've made some choices in your life that are bringing you in a different direction. And that's what it was with Combi Christ and I, is just, it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, and taught me so much. And I feel like going and getting to be in that band put me on a different level than I was on before. But we reached a point where I wanted to do something different with my career and with my life, and in order to do those things, that meant stepping away from Combi Christ.
Yeah.
So there was no hard feelings. Like there was no fight. There was no like breaking point. It was nothing like that. It was just that we had finished a tour, and I looked at the state of my life, and yeah, that was it. And I was like, well, you know what? I think it's time. It was the same exact thing with New Year's Day when I decided to leave that band. It was, nobody had done anything specific. There was no like, I hate you because X, Y, or Z happened. It was just, I want to do something different. So and if I continue with where I'm at right now, I'm not going to be able to accomplish that thing.
Right. Yeah, I often also relate things to relationships with bands.
Yeah.
It's very spot on. I mean, you're in a relationship with 5 other people, and you know, it's pretty common to grow apart, you know. I think even like a lot of bigger bands, you hear like that, how there's like turmoil in the band. Some people don't get along with other people. I mean, at a certain point, you have to look at certain things like a business, and you know, you might not like everyone that you work with, but like it's a super successful band or business. Like you're gonna most likely stay in that. You know what I mean? But yeah,
and it gets easier when you get to bigger levels like that, where you show up to some city and you've got your own hotel room, and you can basically, you know, if for whatever reason you got an issue, you can stay pretty isolated from everybody if you choose to, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, that's all it was.
Yeah.
I know that's not like super exciting or but that's really generally the truth of it. It was just, hey, I want to do something different, and I'm gonna move in this other
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. And his last question is like, his last question is basically just wanting to know. He's basically saying like, he's only heard great things about you, and he's like not buying it. So like, what's something that's awful about you? Like, do you fart poison in bed, or does your shit smell so bad, or do you snore very high? Because he's just like, he thinks you're the golden child, as I know you are, and maybe I can answer this for you. Maybe I can answer this for
Yeah,
you, and I can say
I would love to
actually,
hear that.
there is nothing that Nick can do wrong. He's perfect. Nick is perfect. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just post this little picture here, and this is how I want to go out on this note, Nick. And I made this picture just for you, Nick, and to show everyone exactly how I feel about our relationship, and like this picture embodies like how much I love you. This is us, okay? So, this is us. You're my little baby. You came out of my butt.
Look at that.
And now I carry you around a little bit, and we make faces at people together, and we're just always so happy. And that's it. This is
we are always the happiest. The happiest. Look at us, man. Man, that picture fully encompasses the way that I feel around you. I feel like I'm getting nuzzled up in mama bears. Oh my God. I don't know if you remember this, but the night that we ended that first Comedy Christ tour was in Atlanta. And this has never once ever happened to me again, but I remember saying bye to you and crying.
I remember that.
It's over. Yeah. I was all like thumbed out and crying, dude. And like I was like, I just met my best friend. This is ridiculous. Like I can't believe I have to not hang out with you again. This is so dumb.
I didn't cry because I knew it wasn't over.
That's it. And it was and I bring that story up because it was very much like a baby at this time.
Yeah. It was just the beginning.
It was only the beginning. It was only the beginning.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us and doing this, and I love you. I love you tons, and I'm very stoked for you and your Patreon. And like I said, I'm going to be announcing it with everyone, and I'm going to offer people those cool things that they sign up. And and I'm going to make this public. I'll send you the link when it is, like maybe later today or tomorrow, and you can post if you like. And I'm going to post all the pictures like somewhere of that I made today, and you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So
perfect.
So thank you.
I love you so much, man.
I love you.
I don't know what I'd do without you. This has been a really good journey with you, having you around to call up and
it's my pleasure.
Talk about whatever's happening with. It's the best, man.
It's my pleasure always.
It was good hanging with everybody here too. We got some good questions.
Yes. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for joining. And
yeah, this was good. This was good. Love you all.
Okay,
Thank
buddy.
You so much.
I'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Bye, guys. See you later, buddy.
Bye. All right, guys, that was it. Here, I'll just put this over here like he's still here. Thank you guys so much. That was a lot of fun. That was also a really long one, just like the Zmar one was, and I still haven't eaten breakfast, and it's almost 5. So I'm gonna go. I love you all. And please, once I post this, share the link with people, because I think it was a great talk, and we should show everyone good vibes when they are there to show. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.